I believe that the reason that so-called radical Islam, but Islam in general, is against the United States is not because of our foreign intervention so much, but particularly because of our support of Israel. You might call that foreign intervention, I know, but back in September 11, 2001, when the towers were hit, a pastor that I know out in Indiana went to speak to Syed Muhammad Saeed, who is the director of the North American Center of Islam, and it's actually located in Danville, Indiana. He went to go and speak to him, and he said, "Why did the Muslims do this?" And the answer he gave was because America supports Israel, and that is the reason. If you ask Muslims, it's because of our support of Israel. Now, I personally think that we should support Israel, and I understand that you might call that foreign intervention. I know that there's other things that we have done that you would call foreign intervention, but I love you. I think I would be so happy if you got elected president, believe me. But the one thing that is a sticking point with me is what you say about their reason for attacking us is because of us being over there first. And I don't believe that. I believe that it's our support of Israel.
You think it is because we support Israel?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's part of it, because Osama bin Laden admitted it. He says that's part of it, but it's the support of Arab secular governments. He was as furious about us supporting, the kingdom in Saudi Arabia and why we had troops there. So that was part of it. He was unhappy because of 10 or 12 years of bombing Iraq. So there's a lot of things. Oil was a factor,
right,
too. So
it all goes together, but I believe that the primary reason is our support of Israel. So what I wanted to know from you is, do you support Israel, in the sense of if Israel is in trouble, are you going to help Israel? Are you going to, or are you going to consider that
I would treat Israel like everybody else. But I believe the policy I advocate is in the best interest of Israel. Because Israel today has 300 nukes. Nobody's going to touch them. They can take care of themselves. When they want to take care of themselves, they have to ask us permission, so they've given up their sovereignty. When they want to have a peace treaty with Syria or another country around there, or talk to the United Arab League, we inhibit them. So I think we get in the way of Israel working in their own self-interest.
Well, I agree with that too, but on the other hand, if we say that we're not going to support Israel in the sense of we're not going to help them if they're in trouble, we're going to call that intervention, we want to stay out of it, then that also, I think, is a bad thing.
Well,
they are the only
I can
democracy
understand
there
that, but if you do that, then somebody else will say equally so that you have to support A, B, C, D, and E, and F. So I don't think, since that policy I don't believe is in Israel's best interest, but if an incident occurs, the most important thing is how do you deal with it? How do you make the decision?
Right.
What you do is the president doesn't decide. He doesn't have the authority to draft you people and go off and send a war and say, no matter how much you love Israel. But you can go, you can send your money, you can do whatever you want. But if it's a threat to our national security, you take it to the Congress and the people, and if they said, it's in America's best interest, if it represented an invasion from the Soviets back in the old days, then they would say this is in American interest. But you just can't say one person has this authority, or one generation doesn't have the authority to...
But it's one sovereign nation supporting another sovereign nation that also is based on a representative
But that would
government.
contradict everything that we have been instructed to under our Constitution.
One other question. President Bush is up in Montebello, Canada this weekend, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday for the SPP. And I've heard you make different comments. I believe that we're on the same page on this. I just want to make sure. If elected president, will you also stand with Tom Tancredo and his position that he would destroy the North American Union in its infancy as we're approaching that?
Absolutely opposed to it. I've supported legislation, introduced my own, talk about it all the time. They're talking about North American Union.
Why isn't it being debated, though? We have probably the most free opportunity for us to expose this thing is on the national stage when men like you and Tancredo and Duncan are standing there debating. I think it needs to be forced onto the table and debated so that the American people can become aware of it, because we're not aware of it.
Because of apathy and lack of understanding understanding, a lot of people in Washington would deny it exists. And they say, well, we haven't voted on it. Of course not. We're doing it all behind the scenes.
I agree.
And they believe that if they have concern, then they get labeled by the media, say, "Oh, you're conspiratorial," you know, and they try to make it very negative. So that's part of the reason. But no, I believe in national sovereignty for us as well as for Israel.
I appreciate that.
But I appreciate your comment.
Thank you very much, and if you are elected, I'll be very thankful.
Thank you very much. Hello.